The past whispers secrets, some buried deep, others lost to time. Tonight, Blink News delves into the shadows of history, where 20 unsolved mysteries continue to tantalize the mind. From chilling disappearances to enigmatic artifacts, these are the questions that may forever remain unanswered. Join us as we explore the 20 biggest historical mysteries that will probably never be solved. Prepare to be captivated and perhaps a little chilled as we journey into the unknown. 1. Was Mount Everest scaled in 1924? The first verified individuals to scale Mount Everest were Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, who reached the summit on May 29, 1953. However, they may not have been the first people to reach the top. In 1924, British mountaineers Andrew Irvine and George Mallory died on Mount Everest. Since then, there has been speculation about whether they may have reached the summit before they perished. In 1999, climber Conrad Anker found Mallory's body at a height of almost 27,000 feet, 8,229 m, up the 29,032-foot tall, 8,849 m mountain. Irvine's body has never been found, and a camera the two originally brought with them also remains undiscovered. Sadly, it seems unlikely that we will ever know for sure whether the two reached the top before they perished. 2. What happened to the Mary Celeste? On December 5, 1872, the British ship Dei Gratia pulled up alongside the Mary Celeste and found it abandoned and adrift about 400 miles, 644 kilometers, east of the Azores. A lifeboat was missing, but there was no damage to the vessel or sign of any struggle. The 10 passengers and crew aboard the vessel were never seen again, and what happened on board the ship has been a mystery ever since. Many theories have been put forward. One suggests that a leak from the ship's cargo of alcohol may have prompted the crew to abandon ship because of fears it would catch fire and blow up. Another theory is that a waterspout may have threatened the vessel. To this day, the mystery has never been solved. It likely never will be. 3. What does the Voyage Manuscript say? The 600-year-old Voyage Manuscript is a mysterious codex that contains a series of illustrations and writings. The writings, penned by an unknown author, have not been deciphered, and it's not clear if they represent an unknown language, a code, or gibberish. Attempts to decipher the codex and understand its meaning have been unsuccessful. Many theories have attempted to explain the text. For example, it may be a reference book, a work of fiction, or an attempt to gain entry into a secret society. It looks unlikely that the codex will ever be deciphered, or it may be undecipherable. 4. Where are the bones of Pingman? Bones belonging to a hominin named Pingman were found in 1923 in a cave near the village of Zhoukoudian, near Beijing. Japan invaded China in 1937 and attempted to ship the fossils to the United States in 1941 before the attack on Pearl Harbor. The attempt failed, and the location of the fossils remains unknown. One theory is that they were sunk while on board a ship, while another purports that they are buried somewhere in China. While it appears unlikely that the fossils will be found, recent excavations of the caves near Zhoukoudian are turning up new tools related to Pingman. 5. Where is Alexander the Great buried? By the age of 32, Alexander the Great had swept across Asia, conquering a region from the Balkans to Pakistan and ruling over the biggest empire in the ancient world. Then, in 323 BC, he died, and his empire fell like a house of cards. The ruler was felled by an illness in Babylon. Historical documents suggest one of his generals brought his body back to ancient Egypt 2 years later, and that his body was held in the city of Memphis, while a tomb was built for him in Alexandria. However, No one knows exactly where that iconic tomb is located. Some have suggested it has sunk beneath the waves because it was built in the Palaces district that is now submerged. If that's the case, it may have been destroyed by millennia of both human and natural forces, experts previously told Live Science. Even if it were to be found, there would likely be few identifying marks proving the tomb belonged to Alexander. The ancient historians who described the building of the tomb left little physical description of it, so researchers may need an intact inscription to identify the tomb. 6. Was there a real King Arthur? The story of King Arthur has been told and retold numerous times over more than 1,000 years. Camelot, the Knights of the Round Table, the wizard Merlin, and the sword Excalibur are all famous parts of the Arthurian tales. However, if King Arthur did really exist, the reality was likely less magical. The earliest surviving accounts date to the 9th century and tell of a leader, perhaps not even a king, who fought several battles against the Saxons. Even the accuracy of these accounts is debatable. There are a number of sites in Britain that legends link to King Arthur, such as Tintagel, a coastal site that was supposedly King Arthur's home, but excavations have not confirmed whether Arthur ever lived there or even existed. Ultimately, it seems unlikely that scholars will ever know for sure whether there was a real King Arthur or whether the man was purely fictional. 7. What happened to the vanished colonists at Rowan O? On July 22, 1587, John White arrived to Roanoke Island with another 120 people along with him. A few months later, he sailed back to England, hoping to restock on badly needed supplies. But when he finally returned 3 years later, every last resident had vanished. The only clue to their potential whereabouts: the mysterious word Croatoan carved on a palisade and another CRO carved on a tree. White assumed the residents had traveled to Croatoan Island, which is now called Hatteras Island. But a storm blew in and prevented White from reaching the island, and he never raised enough money for another search. Some documents suggest Chief Powhatan killed some of the colonists, but there's no archaeological evidence to back that up. Other theories propose the residents were attacked by the Spanish, or that the colonists simply died of natural causes. Whatever the case, the fate of the colonists is the biggest unsolved mystery in American history. William Kelso, Emeritus Director of Archaeology and Research at the Jamestown Rediscovery Foundation, previously told Live Science. 8. Where is William Kidd's treasure hidden? William Kidd, more commonly known as Captain Kidd, was an infamous Scottish privateer who sailed the seas in the late 1600s. He was commissioned to arrest pirates by the British government, but was ultimately hanged for piracy himself in 1701. Before his ignominious death, Kidd captured and plundered many ships. But the one that got him in hot water was the Quedagh Merchant, a ship with an English captain sailing with French regulatory papers, known as passes, and carrying goods belonging to the noblemen of the Mughal Emperor's court in South Asia. Frederick Hanselman, an underwater archaeologist at Indiana University, wrote in his book Captain Kidd's Lost Ship, The Wreck of the Quedagh Merchant, University Press of Florida, 2019. This caused the British to brand Kidd as a pirate. When Kidd found out, he sailed to New York on another vessel in an attempt to clear his name. The Quedagh Merchant was abandoned shortly after Kidd left, and its wreck was found in 2007. Kidd claimed he pilfered around 100,000 British pounds, around $20 million today, and buried it somewhere, offering to trade the location for his life, according to a letter he wrote to the British government, which is now in the British National Archives. The offer was refused, and he was executed. To his dying breath, Kidd argued he was a legitimate privateer who had only ever plundered targets approved by the Crown, but he was hung and his body covered with pitch and squeezed in an iron cage displayed over the Thames. Either way, none of this treasure has ever been recovered, and likely never will be. 9. Who was Jack the Ripper? In 1888, Jack the Ripper killed at least 5 women in London, mutilating their bodies. A number of letters, supposedly from the Ripper, were sent to police taunting officers' efforts to find the Ripper. Whether any of them were actually written by the Ripper is a matter of debate among scholars. The name Jack the Ripper comes from these letters. Needless to say, the Ripper was never found, and over the years, dozens of people have been brought up as possible candidates. In his 2012 book, Jack the Ripper, The Hand of a Woman, John Morris suggests that a woman named Lizzie Williams was the Ripper, although other Ripper experts cast doubt on it. It appears unlikely that the true identity of the Ripper will ever be known for sure. 10. Where is Jimmy Hoffa? The Teamster Union leader known for his involvement in organized crime disappeared in Oakland County, Michigan on July 30, 1975, and was declared legally dead in 1982. The identity of his killer, S., and the location of his body are ongoing mysteries. Police and forensic anthropologists have searched a number of sites in Detroit and Oakland County to no avail. One popular theory was that Hoffa's body was buried beneath Giant Stadium in New Jersey. However, this theory has been debunked. On October 25 and 26, 2021, FBI agents visited a former landfill in New Jersey to conduct a site survey, according to the New York Times. The survey is a follow-up to a deathbed confession by a landfill worker claiming that people had charged he and his father with burying Hoffa's body in a steel barrel under the dump in 1975. The agents apparently didn't find the steel barrel.
Nothing of evidentiary value was discovered during that search, Mara Schneider, an FBI spokeswoman in Detroit, said according to The Guardian in July 2022. While we do not currently anticipate any additional activity at the site, the FBI will continue to pursue any viable lead in our efforts to locate Mr. Hoffa. The identity of his killer is also unclear. Before his death in 2006, Richard the Iceman Kuklinski, a hitman, claimed to have killed Hoffa and dumped his body in a scrapyard, The Guardian reported. An author named Philip Carlo visited Kuklinski in prison before he died and wrote a book on Kuklinski's confessions. After the book came out, a number of police officers cast doubt on the confession in media interviews. As the years go by, it appears increasingly unlikely that Hoffa's remains will ever be found.